Hello guys, welcome back. Now in this tutorial, we are going to create our first flow. So let's go ahead and look at a business requirement. So the business requirement is Deepika is working as a system administrator at mytutorialrack.com and she received this requirement from her manager. So the requirement is create a lead capture form which looks like the following screenshot. So this is the screenshot. So the form is asking for two things from the user. First, to enter the lead name, and then another thing is the company name. So these are the two things that the form should ask the user to enter, and both of these needs to be required first of all, and there needs to be a help text. Okay, so you can see here these are the help text, so you need to have help text next to the fields as well. And then once the information is provided, the lead needs to be created into our system. Okay, that is another thing. And this flow or this particular screen can be invoked from the home page layout. Okay, so anybody from the home page will be able to click on this flow and will be able to enter the information of the lead, and then they will be able to create the lead record in the system. So this is the business requirement that we have to create. Now, as I mentioned to you, this is a screen type flow because it is asking the user for information. Okay, so that's a screen flow that we will be creating. So the first thing is we will log in back to our Salesforce. And let me show you how I came over there. So I went ahead and in the setup, I entered flows. And then over here, I came to the flows and then click on this new flow. The first thing it'll ask me is what type of flow it is. I'm going to choose a screen flow. That is the type of the flow is going to be a screen flow. And then hit the next button. Then it is asking, how do you want to start building? So free form means you are going to control the placement of all the elements and connectors on the canvas, or you want us to automatically position all the elements and connectors for you. Okay, so we're going to be choosing the free form one. So I'm going to go ahead and select this. So I will be placing my elements and everything. So this is the canvas. Okay, this is the canvas for you, and you can use this to build any type of complexity of flows. Okay, so our flow is very simple. What we need is a form which will take in two information, lead name and the company name. So I'm going to go back here to my screen, and the first thing you can see here, this is your toolbox. Okay, and in your toolbox you have two tabs, elements and manager. So if you wanted to create a variable or you want to store something, then you will use this new resource button and you can choose your resource type. Okay, you can create a variable, you can create a constant, you can create a text template, etc. And we will be using them in our upcoming tutorials, but this is just a quick overview. And then the next one is elements. So interaction, under this interaction category, there are three things: screen, action, and subflow. Okay, if let's say screen is basically to have the user to enter some information, a UI screen will be shown. Action is where if you created an action through Apex and if you want to invoke that action, or let's say you wanted to just invoke an email action or something, or email to be sent to admins or things of that sort, then you can create that action and you can invoke that action through the flow. Subflow means you want to invoke another flow. Assignment, decision, loop, collection, sort. We will talk about that as well. Now, assignment is, let's say you created a variable, you want to set up the value of the variable, then you will use assignment. Decision is, in Apex you have if and else. Think of that way, that this is a if else. Loop, so as you know, in Apex we have for loop, while loop, etc. So just here also, if you wanted to iterate over collection of records or a variable which is of the type collection, then you can use this loop variable. Collection sort is basically going to sort the collection. If you want to sort it in any specific way, then you can use this collection sort. Now here, create record, update, this is to do with data. So just like in Apex you have insert to create a record, you can use this create record element to create new records. Update records is if you have a record and you updated one of the field of that record, then you can use update records. You can retrieve, let's say you want to retrieve all the opportunity records which are of the value 50,000. Let's say this is your criteria. So you can use this get records to retrieve those records. Delete, if you want to delete a specific records, or if you want to delete a collection of records, you can use this data element. And then roll back records, if you want to roll back an operation, then you can go ahead and roll them back to a previous state. Okay, so these are just an overview of the different elements that are available. Now coming back to our requirement is, we have to create a screen which asks the user for two things. So I'm going to use this screen element, and I'm going to drag the screen element on this canvas. So this is the label. So I'm going to say enter lead information. Okay, and so this is going to be my screen properties here. In this, I'm asking for two things. I'm asking to ask for the lead name. Okay, so here I'm going to say lead name is nothing but a text, right? So I'm going to go ahead and use this text field, and I'm going to drop it over here, and this is for lead name. Okay, enter lead name. Now if you wanted to use a different API name, you can use that. And here you can say this is required API name, so you have to provide the API name here, and then you can see this is a text field that will show, and this is going to be the label for this text field. Now if you want to make this label, let's say bold, you can do that. You can go ahead and use this B, and then you can close this bold tag, and you can do it, and it'll make it bold. So we're going to go ahead and if I want to make this required, so you know that for the creation of the lead, there are two things, those two fields are required. One is the last name for the lead, and the second one is the company name. So I'm going to make this field required, and if you want to provide a default value, you can do that. If you want to make sure that the input that the user is typing has to be in a particular format or something, you can do that. Component visibility means, do you want to display this particular text field all the time or only on a particular condition? So you can set up a criteria here that, okay, only on certain condition display this particular field. So you can set up your component visibility as well. So this is the first thing. And now here, the next field that I want to ask the user will be the company name, which is also going to be a text. So I'm going to go ahead and drag the text field again, and where it has the green thing, that's where you drop it. Okay, but you can move it up and down as well. So let's say you want to ask the company name first and then the lead name, you can do that. Otherwise you can leave where it is, the way it was before. So now the next thing is company name. Okay, so here I'm going to ask for company name, and then it's also going to be a required field. So I'm going to leave it that this way here, and I want to be available all the time. I don't want to have any criteria, and then that's it. Okay, so now on this, I don't want to have a pause button or anything, right? So you can even configure the header. If you want to remove the header, you can remove it. If you want, you can leave it here. And then let's say you want to configure the footer, and in the footer, I don't want the previous button. Okay, so you can go ahead and hide the previous button, so it will not show it. And then if you want to hide the pause button also, then you can go ahead and select this. You can hide that. So now the only button that will appear on the screen is going to be a finish button. Okay, so this is how we have, and now hit the done. So now I have created a simple screen element. I've dropped it on the screen, and that has two things. It asks for a lead name and then asks for a company name, and both of these are required, and I'm hitting the done here. Now you can connect these two elements and then go ahead and hit the save. So once you save it, it will ask you for the name of the flow. So you can say create lead. This is the name of the flow. And if you want to give a description, you can, otherwise hit the save button. Okay, so this is how the flow looks like. And now what happens is, this is just what it is doing. It is just going to show you a screen where you can enter information. So let's go ahead and run this. You don't have to activate it in order for you to see what the screen looks like. So I'm going to hit the run button here. And this is how the screen will look like. Okay, it is asking me, and as you can see here, this is in bold because we used a bold tag on the text field, and that's why it appears bold, whereas company name is not appearing bold, but both of them are required. If you don't enter the information, then what's happening is it's not going to let you go further. It's giving you an error because you have marked those fields as required fields. And then there is a finish button. Now let's go back here and let me go and pull up the leads record. Okay, so what's happening is I have about 15 lead records right now. Okay, and let's go ahead and enter another lead name here. So I'm going to say Deepika Alak, and then here company name is My Tutorial Rack. Now once I hit the finish, I want this lead to be entered into my lead record table, but unfortunately if I go back here and refresh it, no leads have been created. It's still 15 items. Now Flow is not super smart to figure out that okay, this lead means you have to enter into this. So what we have to do is we have to update our flow. Okay, so what we need to do is we want whatever the information that the user has entered in the screen, we want to capture that information and use that information in order to create our lead record. So I'm going to go ahead and drag this create record element and drop it here. And here I'm going to say create lead record. So that's the label. Automatically when you tab out, this API name will be set up. And it is asking how many records do you want to create? So in this case, the screen is only capturing one lead's information, right? So I'm going to lead only one record needs to be created. If you had multiple records, you can choose the second radio button. And then it's asking how do you want to set the record fields? Use the values from the record, or do you want to separate resources and literal values? So I wanted to specify my own values for that lead creation. So here I'm going to choose the second radio button, and then it's asking me what kind of record are you trying to create? Is it which object record? Is it account object, opportunity object, lead record? What kind of object record you are interested in? So I'm interested in creating lead record, right? So I'm going to go ahead and choose lead here. And once I choose that, I have this option of setting the field values for the lead. Now, in order for you to create a lead record, even through Apex, or even going over to the lead tab and creating a new lead record, you have to provide two important pieces of information. And that is last name, and then this is company. If you don't provide this information, this is the same message that you were getting. Okay, so we have to provide name and company even through the UI. So the same rules apply. If you want to create a lead record, you have to provide the values of those required field. So the first field that I want to provide the value for is last name. So what should be the value of the last name? You can choose from whatever the screen components that you have, right? So you'll see here on the screen, you have two components you have added. One was the lead name screen component, which was a text field, and then another one for company. So whatever the user has entered in that, this is where it's getting stored. Okay, so I'm setting up the value of this field from whatever the user has entered, and it's been captured in this place. Similarly, the company name, that is also required. So the company name is going to come from whatever the user has entered in this text field. Okay, so that's the company name. So both of these required field values I am providing, and then I'm doing the done. So now these two needs to be linked. Everything has to be linked together, because if I try to save this, it's going to give me a warning, and it is telling me that you can't run this flow because it is not connected to anything. So every element that you are dropping has to be connected. You can't have an element existing on its own. So now this is how I'm going to connect it. So the first thing is when the flow starts, it'll give a user a screen, and then from there it is going to take that information, and we will use that information that the user has entered and create a lead record. Now if I go ahead and hit the run, as you can see here, still if I go back and refresh my leads, I only have 15 items. Okay, now I'm going to go back and I'm going to enter the lead name, and I'm going to say Khana is my last name, let's say, and company name I'm going to choose My Tutorial Rack. Hit the next. Comes back again to the same, but let's go back here and let's refresh it. Now you can see another item got added. It says number 16. So the new lead has been added. And if you want to see which is the lead, you can go ahead and if you scroll down, you should be able to see the new lead, which is Khanna My Tutorial Rack. And this is what the lead record looks like. So you have created a lead record. Name that you have provided is this, and then the company is this. Okay, this is the two fields that you have provided. Now the other requirement that was there was that Deepika has to put this form on the home page layout and open it for the entire world. How we are going to achieve that? So in order for me to run this flow, I don't have to come back to the flows and run it from here, right? I want it to be invoked from my home page. So what will I do is I'll go over to my home page and I will click on this gear icon and click on this edit page. So before this assistant, I want to drop that flow. So how you will do it? So over here, there is a flow standard component. So you go ahead and drag it and put it wherever you want to put it. You want to put it over here, you want to put it before here, or you want to put it before assistant. You can do that, okay? And now it is asking you to tell me which flow you want to put it, right? So I'm going to go ahead and choose the flow that I created. Okay. Now the reason you don't see that flow over here is because you have not activated the flow. So you have to go back and you have to activate this flow. And once you activate it, that's when it's going to be available over here. It still doesn't show because you have to refresh it. So now I'm going to go ahead and reload it. Okay. Once I reload it, I'm going to drop this flow and put it over here. And now I will be able to choose this create lead flow because now it's active. So only active flows will be shown here. So sometimes if you don't see a particular flow, that means you have not activated the flow. So you go back and activate it, and then you will be able to see it. Only on certain criteria, this flow to be available or visible, you can set up your visibility criteria here. I don't have anything. I want this flow to be available all the time. I'm going to go ahead and hit the save. Now I'm going to go ahead and activate this, and I'm going to make it as app default, let's say. Okay. So whenever you are in sales, when you have opened up the sales, that's when I wanted to see it. Okay. Home page for sales, and hit the save. So now going back here, I am under the sales app. I am under the home page. Now I can see this is my form. And now when I go ahead and enter an information, lead name, and then company name is hello, then hit the next here, automatically what's happening is a new lead gets created. And you can see here, this is another lead that has been created. So we were successfully able to create our requirement. Now another important thing is these are the help text. So you want to have the help text also available. So how do I do that? You go back to your flow. This is the flow that you have. And then on the screen component, you want to have a help text. So if you scroll down, there is a provide help thing at the bottom. Okay, here you can enter whatever you want to write in the help text. So here I'm saying, please enter your last name. That is going to be the help text for the lead name. And similarly, if you want to provide it for your, so if I go here, I can see that thing is there. And then for the company name, if you want help text, you can write your help text over here. Enter the name of your company. Done. So now if I go, I have to save as. So once it's been activated, you have to save it as either a new version or a new flow. So I'm going to save it as a new version, hit the save, and I have to activate this version. Because if I don't, then the other version that we created was activated, and that's how it's going to reflect it. So if I go back to my home page, I have not activated the new version. Even still, I don't see the help text because the older version is activated. So what you have to do is you have to activate the new version, and now you come back, you refresh the page, and now the help text is available. So when you click here, it tells you enter your last name. And then when you click on this help text, it tells you enter the name of your company. So this is our first flow that we have built. I hope you have enjoyed this tutorial, and I'm going to see you in the next tutorial. Thank you.